There's no information at this time into what motivated this, but a man is dead after he crashed his car into a barricade near the Supreme Court early this morning. Capitol Police say his car became engulfed with flames after the crash. He then got out of his car and fired several shots in the air. As Capitol Police approached, the man shot himself.
We know lawmakers are back home during this August recess, so that's something that Capitol Police say that they are looking more into as far as who this man was, where he's from. They say that they're aware of 2 addresses from Delaware and Pennsylvania that he's lived at, as well as a criminal record that goes back around a decade. Once the sun came up today, that's when we saw really some chilling images after this crash that happened around 4 o'clock in the morning when this man plowed his car into this barrier right between the Supreme Court and the Library of Congress, really just a block away from the Capitol grounds. Capitol Police Chief giving an update this morning saying that in light of this, you know, the backdrop here, this rise in threats to law enforcement nationwide, that's also happening here at the Capitol.
Another day in America. Well, before we were saying another day in America, another mass shooting, but now it's an attempted, I guess, attack on a federal building in America. Now, of course, the first thought is, this must be more in the response to what was happening with the FBI search of Donald Trump's Mar-a-Lago, but they still haven't nailed down exactly the motive of this one guy who decided to kill himself after running into that barricade and the car lighting on fire. They're still not sure if that was purposeful or not either. Details are still coming out, but the US Capitol Police did release that the identity of this man was a 29-year-old Richard A. York III. He's from Delaware. So again, like I was saying, this is just one of the latest in these types of attacks because, you know, the police chief pointed out how these things are continuing to go on and hurt them over and over again, and now they're on a heightened awareness. That's across the country. Let's listen to him talk about this particular incident.
That we had not had anything specific over the last few days that we would have had any idea that something like this would have happened. But I think, like law enforcement nationwide, we are on a higher alert. We have put some enhanced security operations in effect so that we can not only try and hopefully deter and prevent something like this from happening, but certainly respond very quickly to mitigate it if we have to.
There's many of these instances going on. The reason why police might be in these heightened alert is because out in Phoenix, again over the weekend, these guys showed up outside the FBI office there.
What brings you out here today?
Just people watching.
Just people watching?
Yep.
How do you feel about the FBI right now?
I want them to do their job. Keep to their oath.
Just wants them to do their jobs, just keep to their oath, the FBI. So that's why we go outside in front of the FBI building with huge guns strapped across the front with camo and masks on their faces in the heat in Phoenix. I wonder if they can breathe, or maybe they're just trying to mitigate the spread of COVID. That must be what it is, actually, you guys. There was one lady that was there who decided to speak to the guys that were recording because many of them refused and said, no, you guys are with the lib press, the fake news. She spoke with the fake news and gave their full declaration of what they're there for and what they're going to do. Watch.
They're just recording freedom at work. We're on the right side of history.
Yes, and I'm exercising my Second Amendment rights to protect my first.
Absolutely. We're here fighting for our President Trump. We're here in support of Trump. But what happened to him, the unlawful search for the FBI at his Mar-a-Lago home.
Hey, Trump, do something!
We do the same thing with our
Now we're waiting to see what DeSantis is going to do because Florida happens to be his state. And we want to see if DeSantis is going to step up on the side of Trump and Trump supporters. We're out here standing for freedom. We are sick and we're tired of this tyrannical government called the Biden regime. We will not stand by and we will not stand down. We're going to stay out here. We're going to fight and we're going to take the fight to the FBI if need be, You can record me. You can look for me. I don't care. We're all law-abiding Americans out here. We're not BLM. We're not Antifa. We are out here, and we're going to stay out here, win the fight. We're going to win this fight on behalf of Trump. If Trump fought for us, we're going to fight for him.
Oh, that's the mistake you made there, lady. Trump is not fighting for you. He never fought for you. So when you're fighting for him, what you're doing is laying down your life, your liberty, whatever else that you're giving up for him. And you know what he's saying? Thank you, dummy. Thank you very much. Now, by the way, these folks that look like domestic terrorists every weekend that they have an opportunity for it, you think they don't like being called those types of things. Maybe they don't like it because of the activity they're doing, would like to be seen as underground or off the radar type of charts. But there's this thing that happened out in Texas. They called it CPAC. And I feel like they're normalizing this term. Let's watch this real quick.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are all domestic terrorists. Please welcome.
They welcome some idiot that was talking about how they're all domestic terrorists. Now, since we can't just take that out of context, let's see this great explanation as to why they had a whole section at CPAC where they said we are all domestic terrorists. As for the context for this whole thing, this is one from this Truth or Fiction site. We located it on CPAC's event-specific website. Under the agenda tab, a schedule for the CPAC Dallas appeared. This is where this label appeared. It says, "We are all domestic terrorists" was a talk that was going to happen at 3:10 p.m. on Saturday, August 6th. An information widget led to a pop-up describing the CPAC event segment, and it said, "We're all domestic terrorists." Now, here's a description of that particular session. Don't like woke gender identity and history classes taught to Americans to hate each other? Then you might be a domestic terrorist. At least according to Biden's Attorney General Merrick Garland. During the pandemic, many Americans finally figured out what the left wanted with their children. Thankfully, it unleashed a wave of proud parents fighting for the future of their kids in this country. They're taking over school boards and fighting to fund students rather than systems controlled by unaccountable and unpatriotic unions. That is what they're talking about when it comes to domestic terrorists. Because if you have a bad position on something or actually want to bully school boards and teachers into doing whatever it is that Ron DeSantis and Donald Trump told you to do, now you're a domestic terrorist. What this does, Maz, it allows people to think, yeah, they're calling us domestic terrorists. Yeah, we're violent, but that's okay. And whether or not they think this is a fun turn of phrase, these folks take this as a badge of honor, and that's who they are. It's their identity.
They're victimizing themselves. They're making themselves victims. I'll be honest with you, JR. I was just in Europe for about 3-4 weeks with the family on vacation. We went to Italy, Sweden, Norway. Everywhere we went, I would look around. I was like, maybe I should move here. I was like, they got free healthcare, free education, not as many guns. And then I would go to the bar to get a drink and they just couldn't make a cocktail. So I was like, you know what? I'm going back to the US. I might get shot, but I'm gonna be drinking while I do. So here's the thing. I think there's a handful of stuff. We've really created a really bad situation for ourselves with the amount of guns we have available. Because if those same people that were protesting were out in front of the FBI with just signs and flags, we might say, oh, wow, these people are actually exercising their First Amendment right to protest, not a big deal. But the fact that they all have guns and the fact that these other guys are going, the guy in Cincinnati tried to attack the FBI office, this elevates everything, not just for the FBI, but also for these people, because let's face it, the guy who went to try and attack the Cincinnati FBI office, he's the one that got killed. So it really is this heated situation that calls on leaders to calm the situation. However, as we've seen, the people on the right, not Donald Trump, the others who might have been a voice of sanity, who might have been able to calm things down, seem to also be escalating it. We need people like their leaders like McCarthy or McConnell or all these other bozos to say something. There was a moment there. There was a moment after January 6th when everybody saw, when their own lives were threatened, when Congress's life was threatened, when even Lindsey Graham said, I'm done, I'm not part of this. And for a second, I had hope that maybe we could come together and at least get rid of the great inflamer who is Donald right now, and maybe try to find some way to move forward. But it feels like they all took the side of Trump. They all took the side of crazy. They all took the side of this type of lady who's sitting there, as you said, saying, he fought for us, we're gonna fight for him. Lady, he doesn't care for you.
Not at all.
He's a narcissist. He's all about money. He's raised hundreds of millions of dollars off of you, which he can spend on anything. You know why he hasn't declared for his candidacy yet, because once he declares for his candidacy, he's got to start spending that money on his candidacy. Meanwhile, he's spending it on Big Macs and shrimp and whatever the hell else he's eating. So it's a dire situation. I don't know what the future holds, but I don't know what else it's gonna take to wake up the leaders of these people to go, guys, this dude does not care for us. The Democrats are not woke. Being against woke culture does not make you a domestic terrorist. Domestic terrorist is when you do what you did in January 6th, when you try to go actually cause bodily harm to other people, including law enforcement. So we're in a situation.